fascinating things I think to study might be the psychology of the Jewish people at the time when they were enslaved in Egypt. Of course, an extended period of time that lasted over 2 centuries, and to figure out what was their perspective at different points throughout that slavery. Now, there are some hints and some times where the Torah gives us an insight into their psychology and into their mindset, and one of them comes early on in Parashat Vaera, where the Torah tells us V'lo sham'u el Moshe, that they didn't or they couldn't listen to Moshe mikotzer ruach u'me'avoda kasha, because of their literally shortness of spirit, because their energy was so sapped, they were so taken up, they were unable to focus on what Moshe was saying or to take it in, to internalize it, to appreciate it, me'avoda kasha, because of the difficult work, because of the hard labor that they were subjected to under the oppression of the Egyptians and of Paro. And the question is, why was it at this moment where they found it so difficult? Why was it at this moment where the work became too difficult that they could no longer listen to Moshe? If we look back in Parashat Shemot, it actually looks like they did believe him at a certain point, and now they seem to have gone backwards and struggle a bit more. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky actually points to a very, very fascinating medrash, which tells us that actually at a certain point earlier on in the slavery, the Jewish people had Shabbat to focus on their spiritual side. They had Shabbat to sort of rejuvenate and to give themselves a boost once again. They perhaps had some texts, some Megillot that they were able to read. He suggests what they might have been, to give them hope, to come together, to study together, and to grow together. And later on in the slavery, at this point now, when Moshe has asked, he's going to Paro and the plagues are about to begin, at that point the labor became even harder. And they lost even that. They lost those moments where they were able to grow together, those Shabbatot where they were able to come together and really boost each other. And I think for me that has been one of the hardest parts of the past year. It's not just the lockdown that we've been in, but it's that we're also missing those moments of boost, particularly Shul on Shabbat is such a time when we're able to come together, to learn together, to grow together, to learn from each other, and to be able to connect in a way that gives us a boost and that helps us to move forward, particularly continuing to build our spiritual side and our sense of purpose and mission continuing on in our lives. But I read something this week which really helped me change my perspective on our lack of Shabbat in Shul, our lack of a Shul at the moment, and our inability to come together on those Shabbatot. And that was the story, or the news, of Francesca Jones. Now, Francesca Jones is an up-and-coming tennis player, and she's British, she's just made it into the Australian Open. This is going to be her first Grand Slam, and she only has 3 fingers on each hand. And it was a remarkable story to read about the adversity that she overcame, to read about how doctors told her that she'd never be a professional tennis player was impossible, even though she loved it, even though she wanted to do it from the age of 8 and 9 and 10, and she's been working towards this moment, and she now is in a Grand Slam. She is now competing amongst not just professional tennis players, but really the peak of the profession, the peak of the industry, competing against the best tennis players in the world, despite all of these difficulties. And there were a couple of things that she said that really made me look at my life a little bit differently and our situation a little bit differently. Number one was that she said, I am simply playing with a different set of cards. She said, it's just different. One person has a certain set of cards, I have a different set of cards. It's just facts. This is how life is. This is the hand, as it were, that life has dealt me, and I'm just making it work, making that life work within those parameters. Everyone has those little shifts, and for me that was a very, very inspiring thing. But not only that, she also pointed out that she uses this difficulty, she uses this challenge to her advantage in certain ways. She didn't explain exactly how, from a tennis perspective, how it works, but you can imagine, and again this made me realize, that sometimes our most difficult adversities, our biggest challenges, can also be an advantage. And it again got me thinking about not being in Shul on Shabbat. As difficult as it is, as challenging as it can be to help us to continue to grow, to continue to be inspired, to continue to feel connected to our community and to the Almighty, it's also an opportunity. Shabbat at home is also an opportunity for us to find our own path, to, in a sense, to do things the way that we enjoy, to look at the parasha not not just listen to it in shul, not just listen to what the rabbi has to say about it, but to find our own messages in it, to read through it, to take our own time, to do it at our own pace, to look in whichever books we would like to about that parasha, to connect to our family, perhaps to have a little bit more time, to rest, to rejuvenate, to meditate a little bit more, to, as I said, to take the prayers in a direction which perhaps we don't have the opportunity to as a community. And so while I think that the lack of Shabbat in shul and the lack of shul in general is a great challenge and is a moment of adversity, what I saw this week really also made me realize that it's also a moment of opportunity, a moment to be able to look at things differently, to seize that opportunity, and to perhaps raise our game to do things in a way that not is worse than before, but is better than before, and be able to inspire ourselves and those around us to actually move forward in this very difficult time. Shabbat Shalom.